everybody. It is Karen Bishop coming at you for today's Take 5. It's nice to be able to connect with you virtually at least. And I just wanted to say right off the bat, please know that you are all constantly being prayed for as we get through these pretty uncertain times. Speaking of which, I trust that through all of this, you are, like me, reflecting a lot lately on your priorities, what's actually important to your hearts, and whether or not our lives are truly reflecting those priorities. For the March 31st reading guide, we've been asked to reflect on John 15:1 through 17, and there is so much to unpack in all of those verses. And I thought that I would just take a couple minutes to reflect on how God is showing me his lesson for me in those verses for these last couple days in particular. The Greeks actually had 4 different words to describe love, and if you watched the Super Bowl ads this year, I think it was a life insurance ad that described each of those 4. And you can either watch the ad or look up those definitions at another time. But most specifically today, I want to talk about agape love. Agape love has always hit a very strong chord for me. Agape love, the unconditional, sacrificial love, the God love that exists regardless of changing circumstances, selfless love in action. We have to cognitively and intentionally practice agape love. Jesus himself is agape personified. Romans 5:8 describes it this way, but God demonstrates his own love for us that while we were sinners, Christ died for us. I love this verse, and it's pretty much the gospel in a nutshell-ish. Anyway, when Jesus is talking to his disciples as recorded in John 15, as he's describing his expectations of them and us, he explains really clearly that we are to show agape love to each other. He says in verse 12, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for their friends." Agape to each other as Jesus has loved us, because there's no greater love than to give up our own lives for our friends. I've always thought that this verse was cool and scary. I always assumed that Jesus meant to actually give up my life, to take my last breath for a friend, which honestly, I hope that I would be able to be that kind of a hero. However, after the last few days, I'm starting to think of it maybe in a little bit of a different way. What if, in his expectations for his disciples, for us, Jesus also meant our living, breathing lives, our regular lives, our comfortable lives, our lives that allow us to run to Walmart, to buy toilet paper whenever we feel like it, our lives that allow us to go to school and work and shake people's hands and participate in our activities and cheer on the Pens while at a restaurant with our friends. In these days of social distancing, we can't do those things. The toilet paper are gone, the Pens aren't playing, and the restaurants are closed. Why? Because COVID-19 is highly dangerous for a certain group of our friends, the immune compromised, for those of us, not me, you, that are over 50 and 60. And we have a responsibility, a really cool opportunity to minister to our friends right now, to show them agape love, to give up our living, breathing, regular lives so that they're safe. It's easy, and believe me, I've done it 100 times in 3 days, to feel sorry for ourselves right now, to feel frustrated and scared and anxious and super irritated that we're stuck in the house with two kids that won't stop jumping up and down. But I feel like God is challenging me right now. Challenging me to give up my life, to sacrificially love everyone, each person in this community. A little earlier in John 13, verse 35, Jesus says, "By this, every person will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. By this, the world will know that you belong to me, that you follow me," Jesus is saying, "if we love one another." That's really cool. So let's show the world that we're his disciples. Let's love each other sacrificially in an agape kind of way. Let's stay socially responsible. Let's check in on our neighbors, encourage each other on social media, build each other up. Ask the whole neighborhood what they need before we go and do a grocery run, so that those in our neighborhoods that are immune compromised and older than us don't have to put themselves in harm's way. Let's love like Jesus loved. Let's take these opportunities to be his disciples and to show the world that we love him because he first loved us while we were sinners. His command is this: to love each other as he has loved us. Let's do it. Thanks so much for listening to my rambling and for listening to the things that God has placed on my heart. May God bless each of you, and may he cause his face to shine upon you. Amen. Have a great day.